Today we will have, the theme is Healthy Strong. We have Dr. Dave from the Alternative Healing Network and Adams Avenue Integrative Health. Hello, Dr. Dave. And so last week we talked about just important things to do while we're doing our virtual communication, right? So one important thing is to, from last week we learned that Ethernet is very important. You can connect to the Wi-Fi as it is more reliable, but the Ethernet connection will always offer you a more stable and better video quality. Also, lights. If for some reason you don't have light in front of you, this is going to affect the quality of your video. So you can sometimes, I have a lamp right in front of me that you can't see obviously, but it helps to give more video. So last week we gave 10 tips, but these are just, I think, top 2. And so Roberto Garcia is not here today, but I will go ahead and give a brief update as to the U.S. Census Bureau operations. They have been extended. We are now in the process, we are extending the census operations till August, till the end of August. This is good in terms that we can make sure that we have an accurate count. However, it's also a problem because the more the census is right now, our national census day was April 1st. So that's the day that we wanted to get most of our community counted. However, due to the virus, we know we have to adapt to the situation. So just in terms of follow-up, I will send an email with the update in the timelines. This doesn't mean that we necessarily have more time. It just means that the time is being extended for the reasons that the update leave or the field staff are not inviting everyone to participate in the census, and this is due to the virus. So please continue to promote the self-response via the internet and also via paper. As of right now, the paper forms should have already arrived in the majority of the households. So those who do not have internet access can complete the census form via the paper form. And so that's just the update from the U.S. Census Bureau. I think it was either yesterday or the day before that this update was released by the Census Bureau office via a press release. And I will also forward that as a follow-up just in case you don't have them. So first, I want to ask a couple of questions from all of the audience, so please get ready to chat if you can. Just real quick, true or false? True or false, I have seen or felt panic from COVID-19. True or false? If you think you've seen or felt panic.
True.
True, thank you. True, exclamation mark, true, 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 awesome, all right. True, feel free to keep putting true or false. I have another question for you. What is your top health concern right now? What is and just list one. What is your top health concern either for yourself, for your family? Let's make it for yourself. What is your top concern?
Graduation.
Graduation. Mental health, food intake. We have staying healthy, the virus, physical health. So your top health concern is your physical health, your blood pressure, staying active. Again, we have someone, I do not have health insurance, physical health, mental health. Elder communities. Yes, just as a side note, please feel free to keep chatting. As a side note, Nala Educational Fund, we have our 1877 El Censo hotline. And so a lot of the majority of the people that are calling our hotline are the elderly who want to get counted by phone. As you already know, the phone system of the U.S. Census Bureau is currently with very limited operations. So they're calling our hotline because they want to get counted online. Over the phone. And these communities do not have internet access. And we know that that's one of the biggest digital divides right now, the internet access. But elderly communities have also a lot of other disadvantages as well. serious health consequences, health accidental transmission to other vulnerable people. Honestly, having to get the vaccine, mental health, depression, anxiety, those are our top health concerns, yes. And those are very valid health concerns. So I just want to get a survey of the community that we have here and what it is that are your top concerns, because this is how we can know to better serve you, and to also be cognizant of the census work that we're doing, right? While we still want to get a fair and accurate count, overall, our health and our safety is primary to everything. Yeah, especially if we're living with other family members, it can be a interesting situation for sure. So my other question for you is, what is one thing that you are doing to fight COVID-19, whatever that may be? One thing that you are doing right now to help fight the virus. Staying home.
Wash hands constantly.
Thank you. Washing your hands constantly. Following CDC indications, distancing, staying home, eating super healthy and staying clean. I like that. Eating super healthy. That's definitely, I don't know how good I'm doing at it. I'm not gonna lie, I do try, but maybe I'm not trying hard enough. Watching everything. Masks. All right, so it looks like we're all doing a lot, right? I think for me, one of the biggest issues that I just don't have enough information. I don't think I know enough of this virus or enough about science to really know what to do, or whether to be scared or not. So I wanted to invite Dr. Dave McCann from the Alternative Healing Network. I think I've known Dr. Dave for over a decade now, and I'm just in love with the mission of the Alternative Healing Network. And so I have Dr. Dave McCann, Clinical Director of the Adams Avenue Integrative Health Center here in San Diego. So for everybody who is not in San Diego, you can still learn a lot from this, and you can still have resources available to you. And most importantly, I think that education is at the forefront of everything, and just how we've been talking about educating for the census so that our communities who are undocumented know exactly how it works, and don't make things up. I think it's the same idea for health, that if we know, if we have more information of health, right, we're not going to be making assumptions. So without further ado, Dr. Dave, if you can please introduce yourself.
So hi, everybody. As Blanca said, I'm Dr. Dave McCann. So I think the first thing I'm going to ask is that everybody put your mask on first. And we're going to talk about, things that we can do right now during the current situation. I am, as I've already said, Dr. Dave McCann. I'm the chiropractor and clinical director at Adams Avenue Integrative Health. I'm also a board member for the Alternative Healing Network. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. I've been in practice for actually almost 24 years now. Graduated from Logan College of Chiropractic in 1997. That's in St. Louis. That's my hometown. I'm from the Midwest. Got an undergraduate degree from Southern Illinois University at Carbondale in 1990, and I've got some other letters after my name somewhere if you're paying attention to those kinds of things. Let's see. So I'm pretty nervous. I'll just say that right now. I've participated in Zoom events, but never been actually a presenter. I have. Pardon me? Okay, sorry. Yeah, so I'm a little nervous here, trying to do the slideshow and everything all like that. But Blanca, thanks for having me on. And yeah, I think we've probably known each other for at least a decade, because we met through the Integrative Health Nights, yeah? Anyway, so got to do the legal stuff first. The information presented here is for educational purposes only. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure, or prevent any medical conditions or diseases, including, but not limited to, COVID-19 or any other infectious disease processes. The information discussed is the opinion of and based solely on the presenter's own, that's me, the presenter's own training, research, and experience. Each person and situation is unique. Please consult a qualified healthcare provider before using any procedure where there is any question of its appropriateness for your unique situation or making any changes in your current healthcare routine. So this is why I'm here. That's me in the background there, and that is my wife, Colleen. She's the person who inspires me and keeps me laughing and keeps me going on a daily basis. And this is what keeps me doing what I love doing as a chiropractor and working with the community there on Adams Avenue and in San Diego. This is one of my families that comes to see me on a regular basis. And the little guy in front there is about 15 months old. And the reason they started coming to see me was because Mom had some neck pain and headaches and some other things. And she told me that she and Dad there had been trying to get pregnant for about 4 years unsuccessfully and had sought other treatments and weren't having any success. And we were able to make that to support her in having a healthy, wonderful little guy that you see right there. And now we're working on number 2. So that's the stuff that I love doing, the stuff that keeps me going on a regular basis. The Alternative Healing Network, as I said, I'm a board member for the Alternative Healing Network. It's a 501(c) nonprofit established by Dr. Ryan Altman in 2005 and started doing free clinics in 2007 in Southeast San Diego and City Heights and a couple other areas around the community where we offered free services, acupuncture, chiropractic treatments, energy work, yoga classes, and that kind of thing to underserved areas of our community. And to date, we have delivered more than 27,000 free services to our community, and that's something that we're pretty proud of. Dr. Dan Murphy, Dr. James Chestnut, Dr. Heidi Havoc, and Dr. Jerry Klum. These are colleagues and mentors of mine who really just kind of helped me with this information today. So I wanted to kind of get a feel for who's here. So I saw in the chat that a lot of folks are working from home, staying at home right now. And I was wondering who has worked from home before and who has never worked from home before, just to kind of get a feel for who's in the audience, who we're talking to.
So if you've never worked from home, please put it in. Never, never, never. We do have a lot of folks who have worked from home. Please feel free to put it in also if you've worked from home before. I know some of the partnership specialists from the Census Bureau work from home. Everybody else, please input it. And some of them are working from home right now.
Right.
Never, I have worked from home first time. Some have worked before, mostly never. I see in a lot of chat, a lot of nevers.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's kind of new for me as well. I have been, I've been doing some Zoom consulting with patients that I don't get to see on a regular basis and that kind of thing. But it's becoming obviously more and more of a thing for more and more people who has children that they're living with right now, taking care of and concerned about. I saw that pop up a number of times. Also, you've already kind of asked a couple of these questions here. And also who has elderly family members that they're living with, whether you're living with them or they're living with you, because these are all things that we're concerned about with the whole COVID-19 situation. And again, Blanca, you've already kind of commented about how the folks that you are working with are concerned about, wanting to make sure that proper information gets out there. And it is the same with our current situation. There's a lot of panic and a lot of misinformation coming from all directions. So it's kind of hard to synthesize all that. I'm going to hopefully not talk too long. I know I have way too much information. I always seem to do that. But anyway, let's just start right here with some information, or misinformation, I should say. This is from a tweet from Dr. Nina Shapiro. You cannot boost your immune system. Please stop saying that. This one, to me, is a little bit less offensive because the first thing that they say is, where is it? I don't know if you can see it that well on your screen because it's not a clear thing, but anyway, you cannot boost your immune system through diet. The only saving grace on this one from the Canadian Dietitians Association is that it says there's no specific food supplement or natural health product that will prevent you from catching COVID-19. That's true. That's true. But to say you cannot boost your immune system through diet or any other means is just ridiculous. And I think shows a pretty profound misunderstanding of how the body works. Anyway, maybe that's just my opinion. And as I said, there is a lot of misinformation, and there's not a whole lot that we know for sure. We know that we're dealing with something that we've never dealt with before in terms of this, the COVID-19 virus, and it is a pandemic. It's a worldwide thing. I've been, because patients ask me all the time, what about this, what about that? So I've been kind of trying to pay attention to both sides, both sides of the aisle and information. And there's people on one's. A lot of people think that it's a political thing and that it's a way to keep the current administration from getting reelected. And on the other side, they think it's a democratic thing or vice versa. That it's the end of all things, that are the end of days and all that kind of stuff. And I think the truth really is somewhere in the middle. But the fact of the matter is that we don't know a whole lot. The COVID-19 is a novel virus, which means that it's unique. It's something that we've not been exposed to in the past. And we know that it's highly contagious. And these two things seem to be generating the most panic, the most fear, and the most misunderstanding of what's going on. Probably a lot of what I'm going to share today isn't necessarily new information, but I'm just going to ask you to maybe look at it from a different perspective. What's being done? Well, there's been a lot of focus on testing for exposure, and that's kind of where it's at. There's been a lot of focus on testing. As a matter of fact, we're at our office, we have started offering COVID-19 testing for doing some antibody testing. But beyond that, there's really not a whole lot of information. We know that it's ubiquitous, it's everywhere, There's no standard of care, there's no cure, there's no treatment, and currently there's no vaccine, and likely won't be for estimates are, a year to a year and a half. Some people are being more aggressive in saying that it's going to come sooner than that, but we really just don't know at the moment. So at least they're working on tests to check for exposure. So here's my take. For some, and again, probably not new information if you've been watching the news feeds and watching the news and that kind of thing. For some people, the symptoms are serious and they require medical intervention. Excuse me. For a few people, it's fatal, but for the vast majority, the symptoms are mild and require no medical intervention. So I look at this and I go, okay, well, maybe just focusing on exposure, instead of focusing on exposure, we should be looking at something else. So when we look at the numbers, the current statistics, and currently, between 85 and 90% of people who come down with the virus require no medical intervention at all. 10 to 15% require some medical intervention, and depending on the sources that you look at, anywhere from 1 to 3% results in fatalities. Most sources seem to confer that if you consider the number of unreported cases, because a lot of people who maybe experience some mild symptoms don't even get recorded, that's probably more likely going to be less than 1%. So what should we be focusing on? Oh yeah. And so I'm just curious, has anybody noticed changes? One of my patients the other day said, we're in San Diego, and one of the things that she commented was like, you know what, I've always kind of not liked living in the city so much, but it's just where I grew up and it's where I live, and but she's like, I noticed that I could hear birds singing the other day. And I live in Vista and drive into San Diego when I go to the office. And I've noticed how clear the air is, and like there's buildings along, off the highway that I've noticed that I haven't really noticed before. Things just a lot clearer, the air smells a little better, that kind of thing. Anybody else noticed these changes? Because it's not a coincidence. Here's a couple of articles that I found. Coronavirus shuts down unintended climate shutdowns have unintended climate benefits, cleaner air, water. That's from NBC News. Here's one. Side effects of coronavirus: pollution is down and nature can finally breathe, from the India Times. So just kind of interesting how this has made some pretty quick changes in our environment. So that's just kind of an interesting little side note, I thought. This is Claude Bernard. He was a French physician back in the 19th century. Called one of the greatest men of science ever, first to suggest that we should use blinded experiments to ensure scientific observations. And he coined the term milieu in, I don't even know how to pronounce that, it's French, but basically it means the internal environment. So he was focused on the body's internal environment. And what he said was the stability of the internal environment is the condition for free and independent life. So in other words, maybe when we look at these numbers and we see that the vast majority of the people require no medical intervention, maybe we should be asking why. And I think that probably has to do with the health and the adaptability and the function of their internal environment. So maybe we should be focusing on the health of the host to answer some of our questions. In 1991, there was a study published by Dr. Cohen in the New England Journal of Medicine. You can see the link there at the bottom. And what they did was they gave nasal injections of viruses of like cold virus to 394 people. They all got the same dose, and then they were assessed for psychological stresses, were given the virus, and then they assessed how they responded. And basically, what they found was the greater stress they were under, the more likely they were to succumb to and have exaggerated, or maybe not exaggerated, but have worse symptoms associated with those viruses. So there again, what it seemed to boil down to is how capable are we of responding to these viruses, because our body is designed to do that. We are designed to respond to novel invaders. In terms of immune system response, just wanted to, just some super basics here, right? There's two kind of aspects of the immune system. There's the innate response and the adaptive response. The innate response is what you're born with, and that's how your body tags invaders and initiates an immune response. So when you get exposed to a novel invader like this, your body tags it and says, hey, this isn't supposed to be here. What are we going to do now? And that makes the adaptive immune response get started and take care of those viruses or whatever that happens to be. So the question is, are you a good host or are you a bad host? And I think, doesn't it make sense that that a healthy immune response would be a good thing? Probably so. Doesn't it make sense that in this case, being a bad host would actually be a good thing? So, and then doesn't it also make sense that health promotion would lead to harm reduction, right? So with that in mind, here's things that we can be focusing on. Sleep well, move well. We know that sleep has a significant impact on our health, and when you're not getting good quality sleep, between 7.5 and 8 hours of sleep on a regular basis, it can diminish your immune response by up to 50%. That's kind of significant. Move well. Even studies have shown that even moderate exercise, getting out and walking for a few minutes, getting out in the sun, just doing some movement, just some light aerobic kind of stuff. Or yesterday, my wife pulled out the hula hoop that we have and did a little hula hooping. But even just some moderate exercise can have a positive impact on immune system function. Eat well. Especially in my office, because I focus a lot on nutrition, on supplementation, on detoxification, to help support normal function, normal healthy immune system function, normal cardiovascular function, all that kind of normal hormone balance and that kind of thing. Everybody's asking, well, what supplements and what foods and that kind of stuff. So vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, and essential fatty acids. These are vital nutrients to normal immune system function. So vitamin D, good sources of food sources of vitamin D, wild caught cold water fish, eggs, mushrooms. Vitamin C, not orange juice. Exclamation point, not orange juice. I'll talk about that in just a second. But broccoli, cabbage, peppers, Brussels sprouts, green leafy vegetables, these are all things that are great for immune system support, healthy immune system function, and have lots of vitamin C. And not orange juice, because orange juice is basically sugar. If you pick up a bottle of pure, juicy, whatever kind of orange juice that you like, and look at how much sugar there is, it's significant. And there's a study, I don't have the reference for this study, but it's done at Loma Linda University. They said that consuming more than 100 milligrams of sugar in a day reduces your white blood cell count, that's your immune system function, for up to 12 hours. So that's pretty significant. So any sugary drinks, that kind of stuff, got to go. Nuts, seeds, red meat, shellfish, legumes, these are things that are great for zinc and essential fatty acids. Again, nuts and seeds, flax seeds, coconut oil, MCT oil, avocado oil, ghee, grass-fed butter. These are all wonderful things that help support immune system function. I use a lot of supplements in my office because nobody gets what they need from their diet. We're always talking about diet, and that's always going to be the best way, but nobody gets what they need from their diet, and so we often will use supplements. But the thing that I want to emphasize here is that supplements don't treat any conditions or diseases except for a deficiency of that particular nutrient. But if you're deficient in vitamin D, which most people that we test are these days, if you're deficient in vitamin C, if you're deficient in zinc and essential fatty acids, then you will have a compromised immune response. So that's something that we can focus on. Think well. Remember back to the Cohen study that we talked about there. One of the primary thing that they were focusing on was psychological stress. So especially these times where we're kind of forced to stay at home and having to make some changes. There's been lots of changes, and everybody kind of indicated how they've been experiencing, stress associated with this current situation. So this is a big area of focus. So some of the things that you can do, especially now working from home, reduce your screen time as much as possible. Make sure you're giving yourself plenty of breaks. Set a timer. There's several different apps that you can use, productivity apps that you can use that'll set off a little timer every 15 minutes or 20 minutes or half an hour so that you can get up, walk around, move, step outside and stand in the sun for a little bit and give yourself a break. Learn to play the ukulele. That's what I'm working on. Basically, I just wanted to, say something other than staring at a computer or TV screen. I just decided to learn the ukulele because it seemed like a fun and easy thing to do. But anything that you're doing where you're physically involved, whether maybe it's crocheting or knitting or something like that, but something that you have to focus your energy on and it is going to keep you from focusing on all of the negative stuff that we're seeing in the news feeds and everything like that. And deep breathing, meditation, that kind of stuff. I wanted to just do maybe just a quick little participation exercise here for deep breathing. My focus when I'm working with patients in the office doing chiropractic is always on neurology, neurological function. And in terms of your neurology and the way your nervous system works, there's the fight or flight side, and then there's the rest and digest and repair side of things. And the more time we spend focusing on our new news feeds, watching the news, watching the media, looking for what's the latest thing that we have to worry about regarding the the virus and the school closings and that type of stuff, the more your body is going to stay in fight or flight. So if you don't already have a daily deep breathing or meditation type practice, that's something that you can implement right now, and do it for even just a few minutes a day. 5 minutes once or twice a day will be helpful, because it helps to take your brain out of fight or flight and back into that rest and digest and repair mode of things. So if we could, I would like for everybody to place your hand, hold on just a second. Yeah, so just place your hand on your belly and place one hand on your chest. So one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest. And I want you to take a big breath in and out. Now this time when you take a breath in, I want you to notice, does your belly move first or does your chest move first? So take a breath in and out. And maybe just throw that in the chat box there. Belly first, chest first. Which did you notice first? And if you noticed your chest moving first, then you're breathing way up high in your lungs. And that area of the up in the ribs there is hardwired. When you're breathing way up high like that, you're using what are referred to as the accessory muscles of respiration. And why would you need accessory muscles of respiration? Well, it's because you got to get away from the tiger. You got to breathe faster, you got to breathe harder, you got to breathe more, so you got to get away from the tiger. So that's a stress response trigger. When you're breathing up high like that, it sends a signal to your brain that says that I am now in fight or flight. When you're breathing way down in your belly, when you're breathing down there, first you're stimulating what is referred to as the vagus nerve, which is hardwired to a different area of the brain that says everything is fine, everything is okay. And so that's how you want to be focusing. So if you've never done it before, that's a good way to start, with one hand on your stomach and one hand on your chest, and focus on breathing way down in your belly first, and then filling up the lungs, and then just let it fall out like that. There are a lot of free apps that you can get for to do meditation, that kind of thing. There's all kinds of videos online on YouTube that you can look at. Lots of good resources, and little music that you can plug in and listen to through your headphones while you're doing that. Like I said, just doing that a couple of times a day for 2 to 5 minutes can really help to calm things down and support healthy immune system function. That's, as the comedians like to say, that's my time. Thank you very much. I hope you guys have found this helpful, useful. If you'd like copies of the slides, that's my email right there. I can send those to you if you've if you've got any questions for me. You can email them there. If you're in San Diego, as a chiropractor, we are still we're considered essential and still trying to take care of folks, albeit on a modified schedule, so that we can make time to make sure that we're cleaning up and doing everything in between patients and minimize exposure to everybody. It's the office location and phone number, and the Alternative Healing Network. That's our website right there. You know, and if you're not in San Diego, as I said, I do Zoom consultations with patients, so that too is an option. You know, you can send me an email. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean
Great.
to.
Yeah. So please, normally, you know, I would have these slides. So please email Dr. Dave if you would want more information or to make an appointment as well.
And I can forward them to you as well, too, Blanca. So you'll
Okay.
have.
Perfect. So I just want to thank you, Dr. Dave, for being here today. The information was very informative. As you know, I come to your nutrition classes. Dr. Dave has nutrition classes here in San Diego as well. Prior to the virus, I was attending, but every time I'm there, I learn something new, something that I just didn't know, or a reminder. Sometimes I think I'm eating healthy, and I'm not, right? So for example, I think one of the questions here that we had in the chat box, Dr. Dave, is you mentioned orange juice, right? Not to drink orange juice. Sometimes we think, oh, well, orange juice is healthy, right? Let me buy some juice.
Yeah.
So I had a question here. What about home squeezed orange juice?
So, you know, really, that's going to be a little bit better, but quite honestly, you know, if you want orange juice, eat an orange, because when you eat an orange, then you're gonna get all of the fiber and all that kind of stuff, all the enzymes that are in there that help you metabolize those things. But yeah, like a glass of orange juice has a pretty significant amount of sugar in it, and that causes your blood sugar to spike, causes insulin levels to spike, and you know, if you drink a couple of glasses, that's a pretty significant amount of sugar.
What's the difference between vitamin D and D3?
Well, so if you look on most of the supplemental forms, you'll see are going to be vitamin D3.
It's the same thing as D then.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
Dr. Dave, we also had another question about, is there a way that we can strengthen our lungs?
Strengthen lungs, sure. You might want to write this down. A good thing. Let me think about it for a second. WIMHOF. Wim Hof. Okay. Wim Hof is I believe he's a Swedish guy, and he's got tons of videos on YouTube referred to the Wim Hof method. He didn't make that up. He kind of popularized it. It's really a breathing method based on I think Tibetan meditative practices. But the guy has participated in a bunch of studies. He holds a number of different world records for time being submerged in ice and swimming in frozen water and climbing some enormous mountain in his shorts and bare feet. But the Wim Hof method is a really good way to strengthen the lungs and really supportive of immune system function as well, because you're going to increase your oxygenation and that kind of thing. And it's something that you can do really in just a couple of minutes a day.
Thank you, Dr. Dave.
And there are, like I said, there's a million videos on YouTube. Look for an actual Wim Hof video. Yeah, there's a million people telling you how to do the Wim Hof method. Just look for his videos.
Great, thank you. And then I also have a question about how reliable and efficient are supplements? I know you can do a whole another lesson on that, but
Oh my
just
gosh,
briefly.
yeah, that's a whole conversation there. And the reality is that there's um, there's a significant difference in the quality of supplements. There's a significant difference in in their effectiveness, and it's going to vary from one person to the next. I always suggest that you get supplements um, from a reliable source. The products that we use in the office are considered professional grade, meaning that they're only sold to healthcare providers and people who are licensed to deal with those. You get stuff from Amazon, you get stuff from Costco and that kind of stuff, and a lot of it just is not necessarily a great quality product. So just make sure you're getting it from a reliable source there.
Thank you. And then we also have another question. I'm not sure I understand it, but maybe you can. Can you tell the importance of IUs? I don't know if you know what IU is.
Oh, international units. Yeah, that's probably what they're talking about. International units. So that's another thing that can be a little complicated in terms of supplementation if you don't know what you're looking at when you're reading labels, because there's milligrams, there's micrograms, there's international units, and that's probably what they're asking about. For instance, for vitamin D, I think the recommended daily recommendation for vitamin D is like 400 international units a day or something like that, which is, based on current research, ridiculously low. So I think maybe that might be what they're asking about.
Yes, I just got confirmation that yes,
Okay.
they were talking about that.
Yeah, and
So there,
just for myself and my wife, right now we do 5,000 to 8,000 units a day. So just to give you some perspective, a lot of times when we look at blood work, when I look at blood work on patients, the normal, the lab normal for vitamin D, vitamin D3, lab normal range goes from 30 nanograms per deciliter to 100 nanograms per deciliter. And I like to see patients with levels up in the 50, 60, 70 range. And when we do blood work, even here in Southern California, where we have lots of sun and people think, oh, I can get it from the sun. Yeah, the vast majority of the people that we test fall even below the lab range of 30.
thank you, Dr. Dave. So at this point, I'm going to give an opportunity to see if there are any questions from people that are on the phone and that cannot answer on the chat. Feel free to jump in at any time. Thank you, Dr. Dave, for having me here. I know, or for you being here. I wanted to say that yeah, I definitely participate in different ways to be healthier. So again, I do want to say that a lot of the information depends, like you said, on the host. So we're all different, and I know for me, something that may not work for another person might work for me, or vice versa. So not one person's experience is like the other. So sometimes you say, oh yeah, vitamin C, but maybe that's something that might not be the right diagnosis for you.
Right.
So I would say, again, due to the disclaimer, don't just take this information for granted, but actually go see a doctor. So we are grateful for Dr. Dave to be here, but if you would like a consultation, Dr. Dave, the Alternative Healing Network is a nonprofit organization, and they do offer, for me, it offers a very, very important value for the price. So please do, if you do have more information, Dr. Dave always says, well, what's your worth, right? If you think you can't afford insurance, or you think you can't afford to go see a doctor for either nutrition advice or whatever that may be, think again, because, right now we're obviously all focused on staying healthy and being safe. So I think for me, this is an opportunity for all of us, including myself, my family members, to focus on a better version of ourselves, right? We can see now that we have low pollution. That's something that we never thought we could accomplish. We have this climate change fight, but as well, if I know that a lot of us struggle, whether it be with weight, whether it be with depression. We talked about a lot of those things earlier, insomnia, right? So a lot of these things I have learned from my own experience has been because of my nutrition. Even though I'm active, the nutrition has had a huge impact on myself. So I think that Dr. Dave and the Alternative Healing Network have a lot to teach us right now, where we are focused. And I especially loved, that it's not only about being safe and eating well, but it's also about thinking it. A lot of the community members that are here today, we work a lot with nonprofit organizations, right? We work for what we think is a greater cause. We have a mission, to bring access, a better equitable system to our communities. So I think that this is important for all of us, because as we, with the mission of the Alternative Healing Network, is not just to give education, but it's also to bring access to our communities that normally would not have access to this type of education or information. So I just want to say that I met Dr. Dave when we were doing the alternative integrative health night, which are free services provided for community members who may not be able to afford them. So with that, I want to thank Dr. Dave, for your help, for your assistance here. And if there's any other final words that you like to share, and then we'll go ahead and conclude the webinar after Dr. Dave.
Cool. Yeah. Again, thanks for having me, and just always appreciate it. Thanks everybody for listening to me ramble on there, and just to kind of bring it around to exactly what you were talking about. And I titled this "Put Your Mask On First," not really, kind of asking people to look at things a little differently, but not to put your mask on first because of the COVID-19, but when you get on a plane, one of the things that they tell you during the little speech is put your mask on first and then help your neighbor. And this is exactly the kind of thing, right now, be selfish and take care of yourself, because people are counting on you to take care of them. So you have to take care of you, and it needs to be a priority.
Great, thank you, Dr. Dave. So with that, we conclude our presentation or our focus for this workshop. We will be having other workshops, and perhaps we can focus based on the feedback that you give us in the chat box. We can focus and program different educational opportunities for us to increase the quality of our work and our life. So our next workshops, the next one is going to be digital marketing. So if any of you are interested in doing more online work and you have no idea, I myself have a lot of digital experience, and so will my coworker, who will be joining us next Wednesday at 11. And then on the 30th, we'll talk more about quality engagement, so how to get the most out of these virtual situations, as well as monitoring any other outreach activities that you may be doing in regards to the census. Again, please continue to advocate for the use of online response. As with the virus, that's the primarily best strategy right now. And again, we also have our hotline that you can call for any questions regarding the census, feel free as well to do it. So with that, thank you everybody for being here, and we will see you next Thursday. And thank you, Dr. Dave.
Thanks a lot.
I will see you at our next appointment.
Okay.
Thank you very much.